It's me, Vicky Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world. Really is crazy, isn't it? All the energies are crazy at the moment. Everything's... I don't know. So anyway, it's Monday morning. The craziness has already continued. But what we're hoping to get in this video is some justice. Please, 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 some fitting sentencing for this awful couple, Constance Marten and Mark Gordon, who she calls Daddy Bear. That's her nickname for him, Daddy Bear. When they were being arrested, she was saying, "Oh, Daddy Bear, what's going on?" Anyway, the thing is, this couple have committed a horrendous crime, just total disregard for their baby, Victoria. They went on the run because they didn't want the baby being taken off them and put into social services. So instead of that, they went on the run and exposed the baby to freezing cold conditions, and the baby died. And then they just discarded the baby, little baby Victoria, little precious baby, discarded her in a carrier bag in an allotment for the police to find. And the police did find this baby. So baby Victoria will have been given some dignity in death. It's horrible. So a little bit of a warning, because obviously this video will deal with the death of a baby, which is, we've had enough things, just feels at the moment. I mean, listen, the world of true crime is not going to be all laughs, is it? But it's always worse, isn't it, when we're talking about babies and children? That always seems to be the very worst. And these are the people that should have looked after baby Victoria, her own mum and dad. They should have done everything they could to protect her, to keep her safe. And they didn't. She died. And not only that, they just then discarded her like a bit of rubbish in a carrier bag. Absolutely foul people. Now, Mark, he was actually born in America, and he committed quite a bad crime there, very bad crime, in fact. Or was he born here and then he went to America and then he was deported back to Britain? I think that's the way it happened. We're going to talk about that anyway. He's a bit of a low life. There's drugs involved in this whole scenario. Now, Constance, she's one of those. She was born with silver spoon in her mouth. She's an aristocrat. Why she got involved with this guy, I have absolutely no idea. She had every opportunity in life, and this is the choice she made, this man. So probably drugs had something to do with that. I don't know. I think they're both drug addicts. I don't know. We'll find out as we go through the story. So they're being sentenced today. Well, the sentencing hearing is today. Whether, the actual sentence will come today or whether that'll be in the morning. And they've just come back from lunch over at the Crown Court, over at the courts. So let's have a look. I'm following the Sky News updates. And so it starts. I'm going to read from the beginning. By the time I get up to the top, there'll be more news from after lunch. So good morning and welcome to our live coverage. Constance Marten and Mark are due to be sentenced today for killing their newborn baby. The aristocrat and her convicted rapist partner went on the run with their daughter Victoria in early 2023 after their other 4 children were taken into care. Now, I don't know if you remember this case. Their car, something happened to their car. The engine exploded. It was on fire. They got a lift off somebody, and then that's it. They disappeared, and they were on the run ever since. They travelled across England. They went off grid. They slept in a tent on the South Downs where their child died. And after 7 weeks on the run, they were finally arrested in Brighton, and Victoria's body was found inside a Lidl bag in a disused shed nearby. So here they are. Well, he just looks just lovely, doesn't he? I mean, what did she see in him? Because she really did have a privileged life. She, out of all her privilege, if she could have done anything, she chose him. And he's a convicted rapist. Oh, I'm not supposed to say the word. Oh, there you go. Yeah, another telling off from YouTube, probably. But to her, he is Daddy Bear. So what were they found guilty of? They were found guilty of perverting the course of justice, concealing the birth of a child, and child cruelty after an Old Bailey trial that lasted almost 5 months. I mean, it's taken ages because wasn't the first trial called off, or it was delayed or something. Anyway, the jury initially were told the case would last 6 weeks. This is what happened, was discharged after failing to reach a verdict on other outstanding counts, having sent a total of almost 200 notes or questions to the judge. Then, finally, in July this year, let's have a look at the eyes. Look at the eyes. She looks like she's just not on this planet, doesn't she? He's got horrible eyes. Cold, Ugh. Anyway, never mind. In July this year, they were found guilty of gross negligence, manslaughter, after a retrial in front of a second jury at the same court. Nothing in her eyes, is there really? She just wants Daddy Bear. Here's a summary of what they've been found guilty of. Gross negligence, manslaughter, child cruelty, concealing the birth of a child, and perverting the course of justice. So they've been found guilty. So what's their sentence going to be, I wonder? What do you think? Let me know in comments what you think maybe. I mean, I have no clue, to be honest. I don't know what the sentences are for those sort of offences. But I can tell you one thing, I hope they're as long as possible. So let's have a look at this video, which will show us just the extent of how they travelled around the UK.
Multiple sightings, a £10,000 reward for information, and a massive police hunt. And still, Constance Marten and Mark Gordon managed to travel hundreds of miles from the north of the country to the south. This is how they evaded the authorities.
That poor baby.
Constance Marten was reported missing on the 5th of January. That same evening, the car she'd been travelling in with partner Mark Gordon caught fire on the M61 near Bolton. Van driver Ken Hudson had been behind them on the motorway. He pulled over to help them and called the emergency services. The couple left on foot, heading towards Bolton. They left behind a placenta wrapped in a towel and Martin's passport, along with a bag of more than 30 mobile phones, used nappies, a cat in a pet carrier, and a Bible. A local resident gave them a lift into Bolton, where they were seen at the Bolton Interchange bus station, before deciding to take a taxi 35 miles to Liverpool, paying £80. From there, they flagged down another taxi, which took them 270 miles across the country to Harwich in Essex. Driver Ali Yaria said the woman was shivering, and he saw a baby inside the woman's jacket, wearing only a nappy. In Harwich, they checked into a Premier Inn using a false name, Thomas. Hotel staff said Martin paid in cash and seemed, quote, quite distressed. After being asked to leave in the morning because they couldn't provide proof of identity, they moved to the Friat Hotel for the night. They checked out early the next morning. Martin was seen outside Harwich Port 2 hours later. A member of the public confronted the couple, having seen a news report about their disappearance. Dale Gosling said that a baby was wrapped inside Martin's coat and that he heard crying. The couple then took a taxi from Harwich to Colchester. Then, later that morning, another taxi from Colchester to East Ham in East London. CCTV showed the couple getting out of the cab with their baby girl, Victoria. Martin cradling the child under her jacket. Later that day, Gordon bought a buggy in Argos before meeting Martin in a kebab shop. She assembled the buggy and then put the baby in. They then took a series of taxis around London abandoning the buggy and, prosecutors said, transferring the baby to a Lidl shopping bag instead. From North London, they headed to the port town of New Haven, arriving at 5 in the morning.
I don't know if the baby was deceased then, to put it in a Lidl shopping bag, or did they throw away the buggy because they thought it was too conspicuous? I don't know. It is really horrible, this.
A CCTV camera at a petrol station shows them wandering around in the early hours, before heading towards the South Downs on foot. They weren't seen again until 4 days later. Marten was back at the garage, buying sweets, snacks and petrol. They claimed the baby had already died by this point. The next sighting was on the outskirts of Brighton. Gordon was spotted emerging from a tent in the woods in Stanmer Park. 2 weeks later, the Met Police offered a £10,000 reward for information. But it was more than a fortnight before witnesses reported further sightings. One near Hollingbury Golf Course in Brighton. Another in the Coldine Lane area of the city. And back in Stanmer Park a day later. Witness Pauline Mason told the court she saw a mother with a baby who she believed was dead. On the 20th of February, the pair were captured on CCTV, trying and failing to break into Hollingbury Golf Course and rummaging through the bins. A week later, they were back in the same area. This time, though, they would not go unnoticed. Their run was about to come to an end. They were spotted in a local shop, buying food and withdrawing cash. A member of the public who recognised them from media reporting called the police.
No, it's hard to imagine what they thought they were going to achieve by all this. They didn't want the social services to take the baby away, like they'd taken their other 4 children away. You can't go on the run forever with a baby, can you? I mean, what on earth did they think they were going to achieve by this? So what resulted was the death of the little baby Victoria.
A few minutes later, the couple were arrested in nearby Stanmer Villas.
You're under arrest for child neglect. Where is the child?
They were repeatedly asked where the child was.
Where's the child? Is the child alive?
That day, the police launched a large-scale search for the baby. More than 200 officers covered an area of 7 miles by 13 miles to look for the baby, from where the couple were sighted to where they were arrested. Over the next few days, an area of 90 square miles was scoured, using dogs, drones, thermal cameras and a helicopter.
I mean, it's quite a miracle that they found baby Victoria, to be honest. A tiny little baby and all that. They did well. They did well.
On March the 1st, police found baby Victoria's body in a disused shed near the allotments. This is the moment when baby Victoria's remains are found inside a Lidl shopping bag. There may have been little hope at that stage of finding the child alive. But this was an ending more disturbing than anyone had thought. Tom Cheshire, Sky News.
So that poor guy, I feel for that policeman. How much trauma would you have after you found a baby's body in a Lidl bag? Anyway, that's a summary really of how they were caught eventually. That's I mean, it's quite, I have reported on this before. I don't know if you remember it or not. But anyway, so when the car in front of Ken Hudson's van burst into flames, he stopped on the motorway to help. But Mark Gordon and Constance Marten did not want him to wait for the emergency services to arrive. Their newborn daughter's dark wispy hair poked out of the blanket she was wrapped in against the cold night, and Ken put his hand on the baby's head, wishing her God bless before driving away. He did not know that the family would soon be the focus of a national search after a placenta wrapped up in a towel in the burnt-out car revealed baby Victoria's secret birth, and that he would be one of the last people to see her up close while she was still alive. And prosecutors said the couple were motivated by a desire to keep their daughter after their 4 other children were taken into care, and had planned to avoid detection by the authorities since she fell pregnant. Thing is, she had a multi-million-pound family trust fund. So she had money. That gave us access to money. They were able to stay on the run for 54 days. So this woman, she had every opportunity in life. She chose him. She chose him to put him first before her baby. So they lived off grid and slept in a tent as they travelled hundreds of miles across the country. And this is the story of what happened. So the trial was beset by delays and disruption. So Mark Gordon, he's represented himself and he was questioning Marten, Constance. Shouldn't be allowed. I think it's always a red flag, isn't it, when people want to represent themselves. He just wanted to talk to her. That'll be why. So it's cost approximately £30,000. It's took up 33 weeks of court time. Oh, £30,000 per defendant per day, and the total cost could be in the region of £10 million. It was suggested that Marten may have made a deliberate attempt to scupper the retrial because it was dramatically revealed his violent RAP conviction in the US after he attacked a woman when he was a teenager. I wonder if Constance knew about that. Did she know her daddy bear was, as she called him, was actually, a convicted RAPIST? Don't know. She's in happier times, attractive woman. Why did she choose him? I don't know. So they said, she said she went on the run to avoid the newborn daughter being removed after the other children were taken into care. She said there was no way I was going to part with my child. But now her child is dead because of her actions. We were hiding from the entire British public because I was worried about Victoria being taken. They said the death of baby Victoria was a tragic accident and denied wrongdoing. But they were found guilty of perverting the course of justice, concealing the birth of a child, and child cruelty. Yeah. And they planned it from as soon as she became pregnant. So apparently the sentencing was due to start at 10:30, but it eventually started at 11 a.m. because Marten had only just arrived in court. So she's 38 and he's 51. He was 51. He represented himself after his legal team withdrew during the retrial. And he will be represented by Philippa Atasny QC during the sentencing hearing. Members of the jury are expected to attend, along with those from the jury who found them guilty in July. So there'd be jury members there. So here's a court sketch. So apparently she had said during the trial that her wealthy family saw her as an embarrassment. Not surprised. She took the money though, didn't she? Took the multi-million-pound trust. She didn't mind taking that, even though she hates her family, according to everything. Hi, Moonbeam. She's, to me, she feels the worst because obviously she's the mother. She should have cared about her baby more. But not only that, she had every opportunity. She was born into a wealthy family. She had opportunities to do more with her life. She said, there's a few people in my biological family who see me as an embarrassment and are scared I will speak out about them and will stop at nothing to get what they want. Some people who are privileged think they are above the rules. Well, yeah, like you, really. It's harrowing. You are up against these people who will stop at nothing, who have endless resources and connections. She comes from a wealthy family, but she never had a strong connection to them. and they eventually became estranged. Now, it might be her family that have reported them to social services, etc. It might be because of her family that the other children were taken off her. I understand that. You would want your child to be with you. But anyway, apparently the detective in charge said that they had no human side to them. He said that their newborn baby found dead in a shopping, so that we have to remember that as well. Maybe it is that they went on the run because she didn't want the baby taken off them. But they just dumped that baby in a shopping bag, and left her there. So that, your sympathy is, you haven't got any basically after that, have you? How could
What shocked you most
baby
during this investigation? Because some of the details that have come up from the trial have been horrific, not least the circumstances with which you found baby Victoria in a shopping bag under rubbish. We know that the baby had passed for some time and the couple were taking her out. They went to Brighton for the day with baby Victoria, with a dead baby.
Yeah, so even after she died, they were carrying around. Oh, it's horrible, isn't it? There was a witness who saw them and thought that the baby was deceased.
What has shocked you most? Because so much of it is jaw-dropping.
And I think it goes back to, that Constance and Mark both, attest to the fact that they were doing the best for her. But even in her passing, that she was degraded by the way that she was left, in a bag, not wrapped, but covered in nappies, dirty bottles, cans. There was no human side to them in that. And so I will never personally correlate to the fact that, they did have that love and care, because that love and care should have been endless, even after her passing.
Yeah. So, why didn't they at least, if they loved her, the little baby, as much as they say they did, they could have dignifiedly, laid her to rest. To leave her in a bag with a load of rubbish and everything. Come on, they could have taken her to a hospital. There's a million other things they could have done with this baby if she did, if it's true what they said they cared about and she died by accident. I mean, I do think it was an accident. I don't think they meant to kill her. But it was the neglect that killed her. She was frozen. She's a newborn baby. She should have been safe and looked after, tucked up in a crib, not bloody in a Aldi bag or whatever, just discarded like rubbish. Terrible. So you can't feel sorry for them. I just can't feel sorry for them at all. Okay, so the court session got underway. Let's see what happened this morning. So Constance Marten was wearing a black jacket and a teal scarf. She had her hair in braids. Mark Gordon was wearing a pale blue shirt and dark tie and has a black head covering. They sat talking to each other after they were brought into court and stood to confirm their names after the judge came in. 7 jurors returned to the court. The other seats were taken up by more than 20 journalists. Constance's mother, Virginia de Celiers, is also in court to see her daughter being sentenced. Gordon's lawyer asked for more time, but Judge Mark Lucraft tells her Mr. Gordon seems more interested in Constance Marten than what's been said. However, he did agree to give her more time. So now this is his conviction from the US. The prosecutor raised Mr. Gordon's previous convictions. So he was found guilty of armed kidnapping, armed sexual battery and armed burglary over an incident in 1989 when he was 14 years old. So he's a nice guy, isn't he? He broke into his neighbour's home wearing a nylon stocking over his face and armed with a kitchen knife and a pair of hedge clippers. He held the woman for 4.5 hours during the attack. Weeks later, he entered another house, armed with a shovel. Then he took kitchen knives and placed them around the home before beating a man around the head What a charmer. He was convicted of armed burglary and aggravated battery over the attack and sentenced to 40 years. So, this is it. So he'd moved to the US when he was 12. He then got deported back to the UK after he'd served his sentence. He can't have served his sentence if it was 40 years, surely. I suppose, yeah, because he was so young, wasn't he? And he probably got time off. Anyway, he was also jailed for 12 weeks in 2017 after being convicted of 2 counts of assaulting a police officer and 1 of failing to comply with his sexual offender notification requirements after an incident in the maternity ward of a hospital in Wales where Marten was giving birth to their first child. I wonder if she knew about it. Maybe she didn't care. He assaulted 2 female police officers after giving a false identity. Constance Marten has no previous convictions or cautions, but was handed a fixed penalty notice. So, earlier this morning before lunch, submissions were made saying aggravating features of the gross negligence manslaughter conviction include the vulnerability of a very young baby and a very high risk of death. He also suggests there was breach of trust. He says the concealment of baby Victoria's body was intrinsically linked. He said the judge said he must decide on dangerousness or whether Constance Marten and Mark Gordon pose a future risk. Well, they do to children anyway. They just keep on having children. The court hears he could impose a life sentence or determinate prison sentence with a period of extended license. And the prosecutor concludes his submission saying this was plainly a difficult investigation. So as I say, I have no idea what this sentence is going to be. Let me know in chat what you think. I don't have any experience of this. Then they broke to give Mark Gordon's legal team time to review a psychiatrist report. Then court came back 40 odd minutes ago, and this is, let's see. So Mark Gordon said, my whole life imploded. The court hears the judge will need to make a finding of fact on whether baby Victoria died of hypothermia, as the prosecution say, or by accidental smothering by Constance Marten. I mean, does it really matter? I don't, because surely the fact baby died through negligence. But anyway, I suppose, I just, honestly, this is such a strange case. So Philippa McAtasney Casey, representing Mark Gordon, says there is at the very least doubt in relation to the issue of hypothermia, and it should be resolved in favour of the defendants. Couldn't be a defence lawyer, I just couldn't. She says Gordon wants her to remind the judge of the evidence he gave during the trial, in particular of the size of his wife at the time, the facts their clothes were dry, and the date he said the baby died. The barrister refers to these 3 pre-sentence reports, which recommend Gordon should not be disregarded as dangerous. Oh my God. Not dangerous. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. She says the offences he committed in the US were when he was a child. Well, that says a lot, doesn't it? And he, in effect, grew up in prison where he spent 20 years. The trauma he experienced undoubtedly shaped his personality, she says. And she adds the offence committed in the UK in 2017 was an isolated incident. Well, it wasn't an isolated incident because he'd already done something before. She said it was quite apparent from speaking to him that when his children were removed from him and his wife, that caused a great deal of upset and anxiety and was traumatic. Now, I wonder why they were removed. She says from speaking to Gordon and what he told these preparing reports, he admits that poor decisions were made which he clearly much regrets. I can't grieve, I'm always the bad guy, he said. Oh, Diddums. So it's all about him, isn't it? It's all about him. Hi, ACW. Hi, Angel. Sounds to me like it's all about him. Poor him. Poor Mark, what he had to go through. He can't grieve, he's always the bad guy. Oh, get the violins out. His lawyer said he will live with this for the rest of his life. Good. He is still in pain, and he told her this morning his whole life has imploded. You know, sorry, I don't feel anything for him. You know, just ridiculous. His whole life has imploded. Well, you know who didn't even get a life? That was Victoria. Her life didn't implode. It never started, never got going. She said he and Martin were in pain. They cared very much about their baby and had irrational thinking because they were evading authorities and living off grid and probably, you know, off their head on drugs most of the time. She says Gordon admits obviously they didn't make the right decisions, but they were not thinking properly or rationally. Oh. Anyway, and then Tom Godfrey, making submissions on behalf of Constance Marten, says the judge can't be sure baby Victoria died of hypothermia and should accept her explanation. Marten said she accidentally smothered her daughter after falling asleep in a tent. Godfrey says he accepts the severity of any offence classed as gross negligence manslaughter, but that it should, as prosecutors argue, fall into the category of very serious. Now, the thing is, I don't... that this baby is dead because they took it off on this whatever around the UK and didn't treat it properly. Whether she smothered the baby, whether it died of hypothermia, it's dead. And the thing is, it's dead because of them, whichever of those is the actual cause of death. And then the other thing, even if the death itself was an accident, the way they treated that baby that they're supposed to love, that they were supposed to be protecting, keeping with them, throwing it away in a shopping bag with a load of rubbish. You know, they didn't even leave the baby in a dignified sort of, I don't know, bury it or, you know, make some sort. They just, it's like, oh, baby's dead, just chuck it away. I'll put it in that bag with all the rest of that rubbish. That's how it feels, isn't it? Horrible people. Oh, baby's dead. Oh, what we're going to do? Oh, yeah. Oh, I've got a rubbish bag here. Just stick it in here. Anyway, then the judge, 8 minutes ago, the judge tells off Constance and Mark for sharing notes in the dock. He says Martin ought to be listening to her barrister. They only care about each other, this couple. Saw that when they were arrested. We watched that video. He was just trying to eat the food he'd just bought. She was going, Daddy Bear, Daddy Bear. You know, it was pathetic, ridiculous. They don't care about the baby. They're lost in each other. Anyway, the judge says that if the behaviour persists, he will continue proceedings without the defendants. He says to Mr. Godfrey, it shows a complete lack of respect, not only for me and the court, but for you. That's what the judge is saying to the defence. Also shows a complete lack of respect for the baby, doesn't it? You know? Oh, and look, just as I say that, the court has broken for lunch and will resume at 2:05 British time, which is 3:05 UK time. I'll try and come back for that. I may have to come back later on because I've got some classes later. I've got to teach some Spanish. But I will come back and I will finish it off. There will be a part 2. But the court's broke now. So As always, let me know what you think in comments. What sort of sentence do you think they should get? And also, what do you think they will get? Because often there's a difference, isn't there, between the sentence that we think these twonks should get, not just these, but any case that we're following, and the sentence that they actually end up getting. You know, sometimes they don't correlate. Now, in the UK, some of the cases we have looked at recently do seem to be going a bit more, you know, a bit stronger with the sentences. I hope so. You know, the UK's not known for its long sentences, is it? You know, but maybe this case, hey, let's hope so. I'm trying to think, like, because it's not murder, is it? It's negligence, manslaughter. Let's just have a look what they're actually charged with again. You know, so it's not murder, so they're not going to get life. I don't think, unless the judge gets really the ump with him. You know, the judge has got to find, and as I said, I don't know if they are going to get the sentence today. It might be that it's a sentence hearing today and then the sentence. I mean, these two horrible people, they've spent all their time trying to delay this trial. As the judges seem, they're only interested in each other. They don't even respect their own legal teams. They don't have any respect for that little baby, Victoria. They'd been found guilty of gross negligence, manslaughter, child cruelty, concealing the birth of a child, and perverting the cause of justice. It'd be nice to see that they would get at least 20 years. What do you think? Do you think there's, do you think 20 years? I don't think I've heard of a learning disability ACW. I don't recall it anyway, but I could be wrong. I could stand corrected. You know, this man is a convicted rapist from 14 years old. You know, we read out his... what he's done before. He's a bad person, and she's an aristocrat with the world at her feet, with this, you know, trust fund. She's got plenty of money. I wonder what he saw in her. You know, do you think it had anything to do with the money? But she's in love with him. He's her daddy bear. That's what she calls him. Good job he's not really her daddy, isn't it? Because she'd be like baby Victoria, just disposed of in a carrier bag on an allotment. Very odd. It's a very strange case. You know, they say they did it because they love the baby, but they put the baby in danger. I think there's a lot of substance abuse included in this case. So probably they're just off their head most of the time. So don't even know why they did it or what, you know what I mean? It's like they don't have a logic to their actions, and they're just thinking, oh, just have another baby. You know, 5 children they've got already, for God's sake. Sometimes you think people should be bloody sterilised, shouldn't they? Why should they be allowed to have more children when they couldn't look after the children they've got? 5! You know? Awful, isn't it? These poor babies, they're just like collateral damage to these kind of people, aren't they? They're just like collateral damage. It's like, oh yeah, baby, oh, it's all right, can have another one, just put it in that carrier bag, throw it away with all them dirty nappies. Awful people. Anyway, okay, I'm going to go because I'm going to go out and have lunch myself, but I will be back with the conclusion. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for caring about baby Victoria. This is what always happens in these cases, isn't it? So in the end, it's left for the rest of the world to care more about these victims and the people that should care about them, especially in child cases. You know, it's like the baby Harrow case over in America, which we haven't heard any more about yet. As far as I know, Emmanuel Harrow has not been found yet. At least they found Victoria. It's good work by the police to find her. And I hope she's been laid to rest with dignity now. As far as these two, oh my God, they're going down the hellhole, aren't they? Anyway, we'll see what the sentencing is later. Thank you so much. I'll see you really soon in the next video. And until then, as always, may your God go with you. Don't forget to like and subscribe, please. And press notifications, of course, if you want to see the update. Thank you.